Howdy folks, welcome to Starsky and Hutch, giving it to you with another whiteboard video. Today we're talking about the best motorcycles from the European manufacturers. Logan, I know you're pumped to do this one.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty excited until I realized we're just going to be ranking 8 different Ducatis today.
Oh, come on, we're not doing 8 Ducatis. We're going to look at all the manufacturers. Triumph, Ducati, Aprilia, KTM, and even BMW. But we are skipping some of these small-time manufacturers like MV Agusta or Benelli. So, Logan, have you been getting in the mindset of this video? I know you're really pumped to make it.
Yeah, I've actually been wearing a Speedo around my apartment complex pool for the past couple weeks, really trying to embody the mindset of the European. You know, it's a little bit foreign for me as a Midwesterner, but I think I'm ready.
All right, let's begin with the Triumph Street Triple 765 RX. Logan, the RX moniker is only reserved. This is some deep Triumph lore for you. It's only reserved when Triumph is kind of getting ready to end the line, so to speak. They did it back with the other one, with the 675 Street Triple. The RX is usually the spiciest version, and this is a spicy little meatball. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the Street Triple is a little bit of a layup option, right? We all know it's a fantastic European motorcycle, but it's kind of interesting, right? We've been kind of dogging on Triumph a little bit lately, you know, their new sort of more Japanese-leaning style bikes like the Tridents. But the Street Triple, on the other hand, pure Triumph race DNA, right?
Yes, it is a pure product. It has a super sport frame. It's got a ultra spicy 765cc 3-cylinder motor making 128 horsepower.
That's a lot
Logan,
of juice.
That's a lot of juice. Give you a fact right here. That is the highest. It's a lot of tea. A lot of tea, a lot of juice, a lot of not espresso. That's reserved for Ducatis only. But it's actually the most horsepower from any of these new kind of middleweight nakeds, not so super sport bikes that are turning into sport bikes as well. And this is the spiciest one with Öhlins suspension, Brembo radial calipers, really nice master cylinder. And I have to ask, Logan, we're getting all this go fast juice. Where is my new Daytona? Because the 660 is not cutting it. Swear to God, Triumph, if you dare give me the 800 in a Daytona Frock, I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah.
I might flip this whiteboard. You guys will see what's behind it.
It's probably coming, though.
Yeah, it's probably coming. Behind the whiteboard is a gaping maw of hell that I will jump into if Triumph actually does that. But this bike is really great. The Street Triple's been polished to a degree that it is really nice to ride, really nice to own. We had one here recently in the shop back in 2024 as a giveaway, and I think if it was the RX trim, I would have loved it even more. Sure. So, Logan, in today's video, we are also going to tell the people, would you buy one or would you own one?
Guilty
meter. What do you think? Yeah, the guilty meter.
I personally,
bring that back. It sucks.
I personally, great bike. I recognize that. I would not own one. Just not my style.
Okay.
Round headlight, maybe I'll do a round headlight knob. But
Moto Bob's got you covered.
Yeah.
He just dropped the Trident 800 review.
But great bike, but not for me. Not to my sensibilities.
That's fair.
Yourself?
I think for me, it's weird. I feel kind of lukewarm about the Street Triple. It doesn't do it for me like a Daytona.
Yeah,
I'm like those R6 people. I swear to God, it's really no different.
Right.
You guys have talked to me about this in the comments before. I mean, it's really no different. So I'm going to say no as well. I can't do it. It's not spicy enough. I don't know.
It's a no on the would you own. It's a yes on the guilty meter because we've talked about how awesome it is, and now we're guilty of being hypocrites.
That's very true. Yeah. So now we're both hypocrites. People said that on the last video too about the R7, but enough behind the scenes jibber jabber. Next bike on the list.
So it's a little bit tricky to determine the best motorcycle from BMW. Do you choose the one that all the Instagrammers fawn over, or do you choose the one that sells the most? Well, we went with neither, because those bikes suck. Instead, we went with the R12 GS.
Come on. This bike's cool as hell.
No, this bike is cool. Yeah.
To us, to like old timers, punks, you know, people who actually know motorcycling. But you're right, it's not a R1300 GS. It's not an M1000RR Cloud Chaser bike. So what is this bike? Talk us through.
Yeah, so it's kind of like BMW's retro throwback to some of their early, like their R80 GS, their Dakar rally bikes. It sort of pioneered ADV bikes long before that was in vogue. It's got an air-cooled 1100 something cc engine, I think. And if you're gonna get a BMW Boxer engine, call me a chopped unk. It should probably be air-cooled. Why are the jugs sticking out that way if you've got liquid cooling? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And you know, and BMW could have put the a more modern engine in it, squeezed a little bit more juice out of it, but I like that they made the deliberate choice to err on the side of more classic heirloom product. In the era where BMW is pushing performance with the S1000RR platform, pushing the space-age technology in the GSs, I think it's cool that they made a deliberate effort to make a stripped-back, raw, classic motorcycle.
I like what you said. They're erring on the side of an heirloom bike for an air-cooled engine.
That's why I was stumbling so much. Yeah,
I like it.
A lot of alliteration.
Yeah, but I completely agree. I've said this for a while where BMW's Boxer products, you know, I've tried quite a few of them, and the more I ride them, the more I'm like, this is like an aberration that it's like a joke that went far too long. Sure. Yeah, so like, why are the jugs second at the side if you have it air and liquid cooled now, or oil and liquid cooled? I don't know why they can't just say it's liquid cooled. They have to have one and the other. I love that this one is air cooled. I think this bike is really sick. I think they have like a white colorway with it with the red seat. It's really cool. Analog gauge.
Analog gauge.
Analog gauge, baby. It's a sweet bike. I think for me, as a former desert sled owner, it really tugs on my heartstrings for like a retro-styled ADV off-road bike. And as crazy as it sounds, Logan, I would do it. I would get one of these, but they're kind of pricey, like $16, $17.
Yeah, they're kind of pricey for sure. And from what I've seen, there are some people proving that it has some actual off-road shops, but people have done some pretty crazy like builds with them too. And you get into that type of motorcycle, it's not just gonna be the out-the-door price. You got the Farkles, the auxiliary lights, the crash protection, the little transactions never stop. All that being said, I would still own one too. I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for us living here in the hipster capital of the world, Austin,
maybe,
R12 GS.
Pretty cool.
Pretty sweet. Moving on. All right, enough of this namby-pamby, air-cooled retro bike nonsense. We're going to talk about probably my favorite bike on the list because I am a thoroughbred squid degen, and I think this is Ducati operating at its highest and possible best use. It's the new Ducati Panigale V4R. Logan, I don't think I need to tell you, I love this bike. I've never ridden it, but I love it. It's so great. It's so great. What do you think about it?
So my knowledge of Ducati superbikes, especially the particularly new ones, is far more limited than yours. So I'm gonna hit you with the Uno reverse card. Tell me about this bike.
Okay, so the V4R, it's Ducati doing what Ducati does best, in my opinion, building competition machines. This is the homologated version. It's got a 998cc V4, which in race trim produces, get ready, 243 ponies.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That is an absurd amount of horsepower. This thing, we talk a lot about MotoGP for the street, blah, blah, blah. This is a motorcycle that is so barely street legal. This is just a competition machine. And I think that Ducati owes it to themselves to always make that sort of thing.
Sure.
Make the superlative. Make something that comes with a World Superbike gearbox from the factory, with side pods, with predictive cornering insanity, like video game levels of performance. Like that's what Ducati should be doing. And I've said it a lot on this channel. I know you guys think I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Ducatisti. I kind of am. But nobody's even close to this thing. This thing is on a completely different planet. I've sampled the old V4R. We have a Panigale V4 right now that we're going to launch as a giveaway very, very soon. Very excited about that. Nobody's even close. That's my spiel. It's incredible.
I do know it mops up in World Superbike, right?
Yeah, every private team that can obviously select any bike that they want picks the V4R. Sure. It is completely dominant. The only reason it wasn't completely dominant the last 2 years because it was top rack on the BMW, and he's just super talented, right? So you can still beat the V4R, but you need obviously alien levels of talent. So really amazing motorcycle. It is $50,000. So at the door, 55, 56, you throw on an exhaust, 60, 70. Money stops mattering when you talk about these things. And as crazy as it sounds, as amazing as it is, Logan, I wouldn't own one.
No?
No, I don't think so. I'm too much of a cheap bastard, I just know that I have more fun with more normal motorcycles that are appropriate for my skill set. I've got a 600 that I ride on the track. Although I gotta say that Panigale V4 was pretty sweet on the racetrack. All right, if I got 50 grand lying around, I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. What about you?
Why not? Too rich for my blood, not my style. I think it's cool. I think it's important for the brand. I think it's impressive in about every metric, but just not for me.
That's fair.
Too much burden of responsibility to even know I own something like that. I'm like, it's too much. I like to have a relaxed, chill, low-key life. 240 horsepower doesn't really align with that.
That's fair. Yeah, that is quite a bit of burden. So, moving on.
But a bike that is a little bit more my speed, Triumph Speed Twin 1200. So it's like the second pun I've done today.
Double entendre.
Speed Twin 1200. So of course we talked about the street triple being sort of emblematic of when Triumph's really trying to do cool, sporty stuff. What they're also known for is their modern classics. And we were talking, as far as modern classics go, I think the Speed Twin really, is the apex of classic, understated old school design, but with modern real world usability. Because it is still a motorcycle. You want to be able to have some fun with it. You want to be able to cooperate a little bit more in the twists and turns as opposed to, you know, the regular Bonneville or, God forbid, a Royal Enfield or something else, right?
Yeah, but speaking of Royal Enfield, you know, we talked about this as we were developing this list. Triumph's products are really interesting when they are able to perfectly blend that modern and retro. I think if you're going to go buy a Bonneville T100, you owe it to yourself to at least go and check out a Royal Enfield because the difference isn't that great, right? But, you know, you go from a Royal Enfield 650 to a Speed Twin 1200, massive difference, right? Way more torque, way more power, way better fit and finish. Everything is just, you know, the chassis, the handling, everything's just a little more put together. And that really is where Triumph just nails it. You know, we thought about which modern classic to fit in here. The Scramblers, you know, hot take alert, but I think Scramblers have had their day in the sun.
For sure.
You know, like it's 2026. I think those were cool in like 2017, 2018. I think we've kind of moved past the point to that now that we don't really need Scramblers as much. And then, yeah, the Bonnevilles, like the T100s, T120s, very beautiful, very charming, but I do think the speeds are really the sweet spot, you know?
Yeah, especially for what you pay versus what you get, you know what I mean? The Speed Twin kind of makes the case for itself. Regarding the Scramblers, yeah, we're talking about very cool, maybe more capable than you even might expect in the right hands. But at the end of the day, yeah, who's really scrambling? I've got an adventure bike. I don't need a scrambler.
So, yeah, so Triumph's motorcycles, yeah, like they make cool, spicy 3-cylinders. I think you got to pick the right one. They're starting to get into that diluted process stuff. The modern classics kind of fill their own void. And yeah, the Speed Twin is a really cool bike. And I have no hesitation in saying that I would definitely own one. Yeah. I've thought about it many times, and my new motorcycle that I recently bought, I say new, it's a 2009 Ducati Monster 1100S because I wanted to scratch that modern classic itch. I need a little more sport, but this was an extremely close second place. I actually went and looked at a couple of these, didn't end up pulling the trigger on them, so I almost bought one.
Sure. I would own one too, for sure.
Nice. Cool. I feel like people always give us grief for loving up on these European motorcycles, and we are, got a lot of check marks here. No Suzuki Bike Curious question marks, no immediate X's. Yeah.
And we're only halfway through the video. Who knows what's coming up?
Only halfway through. Also, letting you know, the numbers in the ranking, it's not really a ranking. We're just putting them up today in the video, so don't think the number one is the best. I don't think we mentioned that in the beginning. All right, boys, it's time for a quick break in the video because I have a question for you. How many of you little squids out there are just raw dogging the wind noise every time you ride? Wind noise isn't just annoying inside your helmet, but it's actually causing irreparable damage to your hearing. And I don't know about you, but having tinnitus is not cool to me. You should always wear earplugs when you ride, but if you want the best motorcycle earplugs in the game, you need to check out Earpiece. These aren't those cheap foam plugs that make everything just sound like you're underwater. Earpiece actually uses patented filter designs to cut out harmful wind noise while still letting you hear the glorious sounds of your engine, traffic, and everything else going on around you. These patents make them the only earplugs recognized for their innovation in sound reduction. Plus, if you use a comm system, you'll get a much better sound in your helmet when Earpiece cuts out the noise. So you get less fatigue, less headaches, and you can actually ride longer without your ears ringing when you get back. If you want to learn more, go to earpiece.com and use my code YAMMY20 to get 20% off your set of Earpiece earplugs. You can find the link down in the description below. Thanks to Earpiece for the support on today's video. Now let's get back to the show. All right, next up, Logan, almost as if I designed it to be this way because I like talking about the bikes I like talking about. The next motorcycle is from Aprilia, and it's none other than the base model, and I want to make that clear, base model, Tuono V4. I think this is a smash hit from Aprilia. We have one right now as a giveaway motorcycle. Click the link down below, yammy.co, go and check that out, all that good stuff. We have a Tuono V4 factory, which is even better, but I think the base is amazing because you get pretty much all the same stuff, same frame, same chassis, same engine. Just don't get semi-active suspension. You get the normal, clickers.
Right.
But you get in a spicy V4, all for like way less than 20 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty sweet. It's a pretty sweet naked bike.
Yeah, it's like, do you get an R1 or do you get a Tuono V4? Because you all know you're not getting the MT10. That's not even a comparison.
No.
But yeah, if you got, $20,000 laying around,
Yeah, I mean, these are way cheaper than 20,000.
Yeah,
I mean, the V4 factory was 19,700, I think. And so these are, I think, like 16 or 17 grand.
Wow.
I mean, they're not much at all. Yeah. Like, and you get 175 horsepower, V4, upright ergonomics, the right gearbox, the snappy. It doesn't have a super long first gear. You get that beautiful mellifluous exhaust note. Wow. It is, I think, a thing of beauty that doesn't cost a whole lot of money. And Aprilia, to me, they're not trying to do the Ducati thing where they're like, we're going to make the pinnacle of performance, even though they are doing pretty well on MotoGP right now. Yeah. They do great because they're owned by the Piaggio Group, which is a two-wheeled kind of like, enthusiast-based company rather than VW that, owns Ducati. And they do what I think is like a perfect split of like passion and enthusiasm, but also like practical and normal. Like the Tuono is such a normal bike. Sure, I think a lot of people don't understand that because they may have not seen one, but you look at the bike, the architecture, it's basically from 2009. It might as well be a Japanese bike, honestly. Like I could see Honda making something like it.
Sure. Well, that's a bit generous.
It's just sacrilegious, but I think the fit and finish has come a long way. I think a lot of people still think of Aprilias as like hodgepodge backyard Italian built things, Rotax engines or whatever. But I don't know. For me, I've had a lot of experience with them recently, and they're really nice. Yeah,
it's like the Sigma move of like you buy the Aprilia for half the price of the Ducati because you don't care if people know it's a Ducati or not. Right? You're not buying for the brand cachet necessarily as much of just like what you get for what you spend.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's definitely like, you pay X dollars, you definitely get X amount of motorcycle. It doesn't have a BMW or Ducati tax.
Yeah.
So, would I own one? It is a 110% yes. I think these bikes are great. Every time I ride the giveaway one, I think to myself, it would be a lot of fun to have this at my disposal whenever I want. But I never pull the trigger on these big hyper-naked bikes, Logan. I say that I will, but I never do. So, what about you? Would you own or ride a Tuono V4?
No, I don't know. It's just, it's not what I'm attracted
to. We got to get him on the Tuono V4. I just remembered we haven't ridden it yet, but I'll give you an X on that one.
Of course, we talked about how great the Ducati V4R is, how it's so emblematic of what Ducati's really good at, making world-class race-winning superbikes. But for me, there's a motorcycle that I think is a little bit more representative of a new era for Ducati, let's say. And that is the Ducati Streetfighter V2. So that's not to say that the Streetfighter isn't a brand new platform by any stretch of the imagination. I think in its current form, it kind of represents a hybridization of old Ducati and a new sustainable Ducati that also has much more mass appeal to a whole bunch of different types of riders. It's no MT-07 accessible, right? But it's not V4R elite.
No. And I think it really shows where Ducati wants the brand to go in the future, right? Like you think about 10, 15 years ago, they were making a ton of Ducati monsters. That's what was selling for them, right? They were mopping up shop, making tons of different monster variants. And now I think Ducati's bread and butter are these new gen Streetfighter V2 products, Multistrada, Desert X, and all of those sales kind of support these cool crazy ass, V4Rs and limited editions and all that stuff. But again, to your point, it's telling that the ease of use went up, weight went down, power went down. Basically, all the curves go in like the easy direction, the good direction for people to own. Because for a long time, Ducatis were like, hey, this is going to be, you got to know what you're getting into, decimal valves, time valves, commitment, right? You have to have your espresso ready, all that stuff. But now you can own a Ducati and it can be like a Japanese bike experience,
for sure.
Yeah, I think the new Streetfighter products are great.
Yeah, and I specifically chose the V2 versus the V4 as a sort of intentional rejection of this, like, the best bike has to be the most powerful bike. Totally. For me, it's like the bike the most people can have a ton of fun with. Yeah. And I'm not the person that's going to say 500 beginner bikes are the best. It's so fun to ride a slow bike fast. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying a bike that's not super scary or entirely prohibitively expensive or insane to insure is generally more fun for more people.
Totally.
And again, call me not a real motorcyclist, but that's kind of where my head was at. I felt like way more people can realistically be excited about potentially owning a V2 versus a V4.
Yeah, and I think we need that in motorcycling, especially with a brand like Ducati, which is typically seen as like, the Ferrari of bikes, the pinnacle of sport bikes, all that sort of thing. I think it's cool that they make stuff that is reasonably accessible. They could have, I think if VW hadn't bought them, they probably would have ended up like MV Agusta, just making really small batch, like crazy stuff, never really evolving past that because That's what Italians are good at. They're good at making really crazy bikes that are here for a good time, not a long time. And then the Germans stepped in and they're like, let's get things a little more organized here. You know, we had a Panigale V2 here on the shop a while back, last year as a giveaway bike, and I remember thinking about the V2. I was like, dude, imagine this bike, but like naked, little lower price point, you know, don't have to have Öhlins and all that crazy stuff. Like, really nice.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
Really nice. So yeah, I think this is cool. I would definitely own one. I think it's got enough power to keep you happy. 118 ponies, I think,
Yeah,
something like that. And then like a sub 400-pound wet weight. That's pretty phenomenal. So yeah, I like it. What about you? Would you own one?
Yeah, I'd own one.
Oh, okay. So you would get a sport bike. You would be a Ducati. Wow. Wow. You sure you want to sign up for that?
Yeah, I only like, I have definitely done sort of mental gymnastics on what I would own and what I won't own. And the Streetfighter just aligns with whatever strange guidelines I've set for myself and my taste.
I can see it though.
Yeah, right?
I can see it. Yeah. The V4R, I'd be like, what are you doing with that?
I probably couldn't rock the camo cargo pants. I'd probably have to do something a little bit different, but I could see it.
Yeah, I could see it. You'd have to get your AGVP stuff.
Oh gosh.
All right, the penultimate bike I'd like to talk to you about today is another Aprilia, because as if you haven't noticed, we're doing about 2 bikes from each manufacturer, except for BMW, because we couldn't find another BMW we like all that much. It's the RS 660. I think this is one of the best Euro bikes out right now. Much like I was saying earlier, where, you know, Aprilia, owned by the Piaggio Group, operating more like a Japanese manufacturer, making stuff that's just really straightforward. This bike pioneered an entire category of motorcycles and still does it the best. I recently rode and reviewed one, Logan, last year? Yeah, it was last
like
year.
This time last year.
It was the RS 660 factory, the new one with like 105 horsepower, updated electronics, new TFT. And I was still just like, this is such a great bike. And I remember comparing it to the Panigale V2, and I was like, you're not losing a whole lot,
no,
you know?
Not,
and it's such a great price point. It looks cool. It's a great bike. Just awesome bike, yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting because it did really pioneer the sort of not so super sport, like Twins Cup sport bike thing, but it definitely doesn't get the credit, right? Like I think so many people think the R7 was kind of the first motorcycle to do that, but yeah, it obviously was the RS 660. And it's still, even being the first, is rarely been like supplanted as the best version of that motorcycle, you know? Like even think about like, sure, the R7 has an IMU and things now, but yeah, it's like making like 40 less horsepower or 30.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big chunk,
yeah,
right? It's completely. A lot less horsepower from an engine that is just a little bit smaller. So that's why it kind of has that like split personality of being like a torquey, usable, everyday bike, but it revs out to like 11 and a half, which for a parallel twin is a lot. You know? Like, I'm surprised it doesn't just vibrate itself to death. I mean, maybe it does, who knows? It's an Aprilia. Just kidding, they're fine. So yeah, like you know, you look at the construction of them, you can see where they cut costs, but it's places you don't really notice when you're riding every day. You know, like the touch points, everything feels premium, but yeah, then lower down, you're like, oh, okay, like they did this to save costs, this is a little more straightforward. But I like what you said about they were the first to do it, and it's rare that the first mover is the best mover. Because you could argue that the R7 is, you know, it did it better because it sold more, but the RS 660 I think is just cooler, more interesting to ride, just a better executed motorcycle. And yeah, after they've had a few teething issues in the first production years, like these are pretty well sorted and they're really cool. Yeah. So RS 660, would I own one? I don't know. My gut says maybe. I'll put a little question mark. Mostly because I think I would like a little bit more juice on tap. I've sampled one on track and I was kind of like, well, I'd like it to be a little bit faster. And then on road, it's kind of like, well, a little bit more torque. Sure. But I do think as someone's like second motorcycle, amazing buy. Yeah. What about you?
I'd be passing.
Pass?
Yeah.
All right. The guilty meter is
I know,
rising.
The guilty meter is rising.
Moving on.
All right, and then the last motorcycle we have today is from KTM, the 690 Enduro R, which I think is sort of an interesting choice, but it gets me a little bit actually more excited, right? Because it's not like the Super Duke 1570, whatever, you know, like that stuff doesn't interest me. But the Enduro, pretty cool, because one, sort of uncontested. You know, you don't think of this sort of engorged single-cylinder motorcycle like doesn't really exist in nature, right? It's for a reason, typically. Of course, there's the big but super understressed, air-cooled DR650 and things like that. And then Ducati's Hypermotard 698, which is the exact opposite of that, a super high-strung, high-revving, powerful single cylinder. And then the KTM is more in that vein. Yeah, this bike weighs about what a DRZ weighs and makes double the horsepower, if not a little bit more.
That's nasty.
Yeah,
That's great.
It's pretty cool. And for me too, when I think of KTM, I think of orange dirt bike.
Yeah.
And so this bike, it like feels very KTM, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, like the layup here, I would say the unintelligent choice would be, oh, Super Duke's the best bike they make. I really don't think it is. I think this is really KTM doing what they do best. It's dirt-oriented, high performance, unique, because as Logan said, like, there's nothing really like it on the market because Ducati refuses to make a dual sport variant of their Hypermotard. They could make something with that giant single cylinder, right? But they don't. They just decided they're just going to do that, so it doesn't count. This has real dirt chops and acumen. And yes, it's a bit heavy. Like, I will admit, I would probably feel a little leery of taking a 350-pound dirt bike deep into the trails. I don't think I have the skill sets for something like that, but I've seen videos of people doing it. Doing really impressive stuff with them. And I think you buy a KTM because, as Logan said, you see orange dirt bike in your mind's eye. But then this comes back and it's still a fun street bike. You can do wheelies with this thing. You can, to me, this is as close as the unicorn bike as you're gonna get in the current marketplace, right? But you do have the caveat of being very unreliable KTM. But it's a cool bike, man. It's a really cool bike. I think the Husky version's cool. This version's cool. I actually thought about owning one of these a few times as well, too. But we live in Texas. There's not a ton of like off-road adventure riding, so I was kind of like, not really worth it. I wish more manufacturers would make stuff like this. I think we're all like, everyone wants like a Yamaha WR500 or something. I mean, the DRZ 400 was not what we wanted it to be. So super cool. I mean, that's a big ass single cylinder. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the Europeans just do the sort of enduro thing, supermoto thing the best. They always have. So leave it, of course, to KTM to really knock this one out of the park. Reliability notwithstanding.
Yeah.
That's not it.
Although people say the LC4 is bulletproof. I'm like, no KTM is bulletproof.
Yeah, but even if the engine's bulletproof, there's all these other parts on it. You know, electronics. Jinx. I can't talk the whole rest of the video.
Brakes, what else? Fluids leaking. The slave cylinder thing that everyone's like, they just do that. And I'm like, seriously? Like, I had a Husqvarna product, and the slave cylinder went out the first couple months of ownership. And I'm like, really? And they're like, that's just normal. I'm like, you guys are getting cucked. So would I own this bike? No, I wouldn't. I would not. Logan?
I'm going to say yes.
Whoa!
Because I think it aligns with that sort of, hooligan dirtbag thing, right? Like I could ride one around downtown Austin, like in a t-shirt or tank top, maybe if it's really hot out, backwards baseball cap, slide it around, pop wheelies on the curb. Like that.
Didn't you see a guy do that the other day at the
intersection? He was on a DRZ, which was a little bit lame, but it was still cool. It was impressive. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
To be just a D-gen dirtbag out in the wild.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. So boys, those are our preferred European motorcycles, brand new on sale in 2026. Let us know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with our choices, which bikes you would have chosen instead. And I'll just let you know, you're wrong, we're right. Everything we think great, everything you think bad. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.